Avicenna Radio, good morning. Nice to be with you again today. And I would like to talk this morning about bladder infection, which is a very common sickness affecting mostly women. And according to Chinese medicine, any kind of sickness can be split into two groups, what we call excess and deficiency type. Now, concerning the excess cause or reason or etiology of bladder infection, first of all, it is what we call a damp heat and toxin in the bladder. The origin can come from the digestive system and can come from the liver and also from the gallbladder via the belt meridian, and also, even though it's some strange, can come from the heart. So it is said that there is a close relation between the heart and the bladder. So an excess of fire in the heart, which is a consequence of being very upset and very irritable or unhappy, or any kind of disturbing emotion that we can have, which can disbalance the heart energy, then this fire will be eliminated via the small intestine through the bladder. This is actually what we call the Tai-Yang function. So emotional shock can also produce a bladder infection with blood in urine, hematuria, but also liver damp heat, because the liver channel is actually crossing the urogenital area. Liver damp heat, which can be the consequence of certain habits like drinking and hot, spicy food, greasy food, can also be responsible for bladder infection too. A gallbladder and the belt meridian, which is crossing the hips and also control the elimination channels, the bladder and also the uterus, responsible somehow for the strength in the hips and the back area. Also an excess of a damp heat and in the gallbladder due to certain habits, food and so on, can also a kind of emotional stress too, and a chi stagnation and being very upset and angry can also produce bladder infection. So you can see there's different reasons behind a bladder infection, from the gallbladder, the daimai, the liver. From the bladder itself, could be also because of sexual diseases. There is what we call the after sexual intercourse can also bladder infection might happen, and this is because of the excess of fire that the sexual intercourse might produce, or because of also a chi stagnation, which can be the consequence of it. So as you can see, blood infection can have different causes, different reasons. Now, blood infection itself can be split in few groups, depending what is the most excessive. If it is a fire, it will be burning more and might be fever and irritability and thirst. If it is a dampness, and there will be more dripping, and the so-called the lower opening will be blocked, because it's the nature of dampness to block the channels and block the opening. So the urine will be like a milky type, losing its transparency, quite thick. So and there's a global sensation of heaviness and a mental dullness. Now, if it is stagnation, there's a feeling of distension in the lower part of the body. If there is a blood heat, we say that the blood heat, which is merely the consequences of infection and toxin, it will hurt the capillary, and there's a tendency to blood in urine, what we call hematuria. So that's why when you treat bladder infection, actually you have to check first the causes coming from the heart, the liver, the gallbladder, the daimai, the bladder itself, the digestive tract, and also see what is prevails. If the heat prevails, the fire prevails, the dampness prevails, the chi stagnation prevails, or the blood stasis prevails. So in order to treat all this, I have created a very powerful medicine which is called hot stream. So this patent formula will actually treat all the pathology I mentioned before. The only thing is to think about and never forget, at the onset of the sickness, then one should take a high dosage. So immediately 10 tablets, actually 10 tablets every 2 hours. If you use a very small dosage, it can be let's say, this patent medicine or something else. Can be a herbal tea, a tea bag, or whatsoever. If the dosage is not equal to the problem, let's say, then you're going to have some called resistant toxin in the body. So the same way when you treat antibiotics, you give a certain dosage, a high dosage, the same way you should do with herbs. So you have to use a high quantity right from the beginning. And it is very important that the patient refrain from coffee at that time, or any kind of spicy or hot food like pepper or whatsoever. So, and you do the treatment very intensively, 10 tablets every 2 hours, drinking a lot of water. And you can even drink at the same time maize corn silk tea, which can help too. Corn silk tea, which is excellent too. There is some Western herbs you can add if you want. But basically this prescription will cover all the need you have. Now there is also a chronic tendency to have bladder infection. And what we can see, it is a consequence of an abuse of Western allopathic treatment, let's say antibiotics, and wrong dietetic habits. So most of the women I see having so-called chronic bladder infection have actually cold kidney. So how can this happen? The cold kidney is merely the consequence of cold drinks and cold living habits and eating too much salad, tomato, cucumber, tea, coffee, and so on. So many people don't like to cook and prefer to eat raw food. They think that vitamin is the key to one's health, which is actually not true, or not completely true. So because of these living habits and over the years, and maybe the contact with some coldness from outside, like walking barefoot on the ground, then what's happened is the coldness from the ground through the channels, the kidney channels, move up straight to the bladder, using the pathway of what we call the tendinomuscular meridian, which have a centripetal upwards chi movement. So the combination of both, one side the deficiency of the kidney yang and the qi, with chronic coldness, hypothermia, low blood pressure, backache, and so on, and low or no sex drive, together with some coldness and dampness outside, might be the consequence of the causes why this kind of blood infection happen. In that case, it's very important to change the diet, to have to take warm food, to drink warm liquids, and not to use any of this bladder tea you can find in any shop, because they are mostly made out of herbs which have a cold nature. So if you take those herbal tea, this will damage even more the kidney yang, and the state will remain chronic. So try to avoid coffee, which has a cold nature, and green tea and a black tea. These should not be eaten. No cakes, no sugar, no dairy produces. This is very important. And even no peppermint tea. So these are actually, let's say, the basic for the treatment. And then you use the medicine I've created called cold stream, which is different from a hot stream, cold stream. And then you take 10 tablets the same way every 2 hours. At the same time, you have to strengthen the kidney. So I would definitely recommend to use yang root, which is very powerful. Even stronger, which is called warming the root. And because of low sex drive, you can have also take secret power if you want. I would definitely recommend also to take Rinchen tea, which is an excellent tea to warm the kidney. Now what you have to remember is the deficiency of the kidney yang, which is actually the cause, the reason why such a thing happened. And in the Tai Yang in the bladder, it will take time to get treated. So the treatment will last few months. So do not expect some success, let's say in a few days. You have benefit from the treatment, you feel definitely better, but in order to warm the kidney, it takes quite a long time. So about 6 months, 9 months, depending how damaged the kidney yang was. Important is mostly to have a good diet, to eat warm food and with a lot of aromatic herbs. A yang root is an excellent treatment. You take 3 times 6 tablets a day continuously for the next months. You can drink in the morning and afternoon. You can drink also this Rinchen tea, which is excellent too. But on the onset of the inflammation, be very careful, because this inflammation is what we call a secondary type. It is called a LAO, which means a deficiency type, which is a consequence of yang deficiency, which means a transformation of damp cold into damp heat with Qi and blood stasis in the bladder. So in that case, you have to warm the kidney. So you use the medicine I mentioned before, which is a cold stream. And when the symptoms get better, you have to go on with warming the kidney, even get acupuncture or get moxa. I hope my advice will help some of you, and I wish you a good day today and see you very soon again.